I'm pretty pumped for this.
We have a treat for you guys.
We have probably two of the biggest innovators for decks in the area, maybe even in the whole game.
Right.
We have Ross Cawthon and Yoshi Tate.
Yeah, man.
Back again.
We got to watch Yoshi play the first game, and we got to watch Ross play the last game of yesterday. So once again, we're going to see both these players in action, and when I look at Yoshi's deck list, I'm in love. This is why we play the game here. He takes so much time and effort when he builds a deck, and he thinks about everything, and you can just see it. He's scribbling out some cards here and there, and he just making those last second adjustments, and it's taking him to day 2.
Hey, whatever works. And then we're going to have our two players on screen, Ross on the left, Yehoshua on the right, call him Yoshi for short. Two players who are in the same area. They play in the same tournaments all the time. I'm sure they have matched up plenty of times. Two of the very best in this area. Of course, Ross, legendary player, 2-time Worlds finalist, multiple-time regional champion. And Yoshi, he doesn't have that big win under his belt. He's been around for a while. People know who he is.
Right.
He's a great innovator, pretty solid player. He did win a state championship a couple years ago. He's taken second at a regional championship, but never got that elusive victory at this big of an event.
Yeah, it's not his play that limits him. It's just sometimes when you're playing a deck as innovative as this, it's not at the same tier level as all these established decks, and sometimes that can limit you. But also with that surprise factor, you find that you can win a lot of these early games, and when you get into the later stage, people start to figure you out a little bit. And if anyone can figure out this deck, I would have to give it to Ross then.
Yeah, this is going to be a bizarre matchup, I think. We have the Wobbuffet Excelgor deck for Ross, going up against, the Zoroark, Zebstrika, Ninetales deck for Yoshi. And, I'm just looking at it. I don't know if Yoshi can do a whole lot against this deck.
Yeah.
A lot of his deck is reliant on abilities, whether it's Ninetales Bright Look or Zoroark Stand-In. Those are really his ways to do anything, and with Wobbuffet active, that's really going to shut him down.
Right, a lot of Yoshi's deck is reactive. He just wants to see, that's a Trevenant, I can beat that. That's a Yveltal, I can beat that. And then he looks over here and he's like, none of these cards I really match up well against. So we'll have to see if he's able to use his deck strategy when he's under the pressure of this lock that Ross is able to develop in the few couple turns. And we see here that he's going to open up with a Wobbuffet, which is immediately going to shut down some of Yoshi's options.
Yeah, we see the Wobbuffet against Blitzel on the right. Blitzel, just one of the many characters we don't see very often in these kinds of events, starting with a blend energy as well. Ross has to appreciate the crazy stuff that Yoshi comes up with. I mean, Ross has come up with some weird stuff himself, but it'll be up to Ross to figure out exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, Ross is known for it, so if anyone can figure it, I mean, he's going to know. And immediately we're going to see a Hypnotoxic Laser come into play, and Yoshi might be able to. I mean, Reckless Charge doesn't do too much damage here, but maybe put a little pressure on this Wobbuffet and soften it up.
He's got the muscle
in the coming turn.
All right.
Yeah, this is the most dangerous Blitzel I've ever seen. So
certainly, but just looking at this matchup overall, it's going to be all about the Excelgor for Ross. That deck and cover attack, instant paralysis, and poison every time you use it, and then he'll promote the Wobbuffet to get that Bide Barricade. Most ways people use to get out of special conditions are through abilities, whether it's Keldeo EX or even Zoroark in Yoshi's deck,
right,
or even like an Audino Busybody sometimes. When you have Wobbuffet, it shuts all those down. And Yoshi actually does depend a lot on Zoroark and things like that. He doesn't have any actual switch cards. He doesn't play a switch, doesn't play Escape Rope, doesn't play AZ or anything like that. So
yeah, I mean,
he doesn't have many ways out of paralysis.
Yeah, if he is able to get through the wall of Wobbuffets, he does have the potential to use his one Floatstone to sneak around with his Zoroark. But that's a lot to ask for when you're playing a deck like this, when you do play so many one-ups.
Definitely. And, I mean, the one card that's going to be huge for him in the matchup, I think, is Lysander. That's the only way for him to push Wobbuffet out of the active spot. And when he can pull up something like an Excelgor on the bench, then it can reactivate something like Zoroark stand-in.
Right.
That'll allow him to get out of paralysis.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see like if Yoshi's able to set up an attacker, get a good Zebstrika, and maybe just chain a bunch of Lysanders early on these Shelmets, then he can limit anything that Ross is really able to accomplish. And I mean, if you're never paralyzed and poisoned, you don't have to worry about any of those options.
Yeah, and I mean, this is going to be a long matchup, I think. Both of these players using pretty much non-EX Pokemon, so 6 prizes are going to have to be taken pretty much every time. Yoshi does play a couple Shaman EX, but he'll probably avoid putting them down if he can. Ross does play Mew EX, but usually that just gets shuffled in with deck and cover every time, so both sides probably going to have to take 6 knockouts.
Yeah, he also just played down one of my favorite cards in this deck, the Muna. He can use long-distance Hypnosis once a turn and, just try to limit anything that Yoshi's able to do. If you're asleep, you're not attacking me. So that's another turn that he gets to use to set up.
Yeah, now Ross getting a very good start here, getting 2 Shelmet down immediately with the Muna, and gets a 3rd Shelmet as well. One of the biggest barriers for this deck getting off to a fast start is just having those Shelmet in play to evolve and start attacking right away. But being able to get 3 down right away on this first turn is huge.
Yeah, he got to play down that Juniper. He didn't go for the high 5, unfortunately, but he played his entire hand out, and look at where it's taking him. He has all these cards in his hand. He has a full board almost, and I mean, this is not what Yoshi wants to see.
I can't see Ross as the kind of guy to go for the high 5.
Right? Yeah.
Just a thought. But just going to pass the turn with the Wobbuffet active. Now, the math is actually great for Yoshi here. It's going to add up to 30 poison damage by the time it goes back to Ross's turn. If he can find Zebstrika, actually, it's not going to be perfect. He's actually going to be a little short.
One off there, but
still good.
Yeah.
If he can find Verbank City Gym, maybe add a little bit more damage, do it that way. Ross actually only plays Verbank City Gym, plays 4 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it also leaves Ross in an awkward spot where he might not want to retreat this Wobbuffet just yet. He may not have the Excelgor with a double colorless energy. He may not also have another Wobbuffet, and then he's left in a spot where he's like, do I give you my Muna? I don't want to give you a Shelmet, and I don't want to be knocked out coming into your turn, so what do I do?
Did Ross use long-distance Hypnosis? I couldn't even see.
I think he forgoes it.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Yoshi finds his Rainbow Energy, and he has an N, so he's going to be looking for just the Zebstrika, probably get a couple more basics down. A Zorua would be big here. Ninetales really won't be very useful in this matchup.
Right. Usually
Ninetales is incredible against Excelgor. You just go ahead and bring out Excelgor, knock it out with, get the Bright Look, use the ability. But when Wobbuffet's active, he can't use Bright Look.
Yeah, he's going to have to clear through all these wobble walls if he wants to do any shenanigans like that.
Yeah, I was trying to see if Yoshi played anything like Silent Lab, so you can shut down Wobbuffet and then gain Bright Look back. But nope,
right.
No Silent Lab, anything like that.
Yeah, that would be sneaky.
yeah. So he does find the Zorua. I'm interested to see if he finds Zebstrika here.
Yeah, thinking back to the long-distance Hypnosis play, I actually like that he didn't use it because it is pretty likely that Yoshi is going to just evolve. And why put yourself at risk to put your Wobbuffet asleep if you do have the Excelgor and double colorless? It may hint that Ross already has a way to answer this Zebstrika, but I mean, those are mind games at that point as well.
Yeah, and no Zebstrika, but Yoshi going to go for the Reckless Charge.
That is
40
quite
damage.
Reckless.
Ross checking to see if the Muscle Band does 10 more to himself. No, it does not.
That would be something. I know that we used to have an issue with Mew EX doing any attacks like this because he actually has a psychic weakness and he would hurt himself more. I remember that actually being very important a few years back where the Pokemon would have knocked itself out, but not the case here with the Muscle Band. It's only to the active Pokemon that you're attacking.
So I'm glad Yoshi's keeping it fresh out here with our Blitzel Reckless Charge. Seeing some interactions we don't see very often.
Yeah.
But always keeping it entertaining. So with that Muscle Band, does hit for 40 damage. If Ross is unable to get Excelgor Double Colorless to knock out Blitzel, can actually Reckless Charge again and take down a Wobbuffet, which I never thought I would see a Blitzel knock out a Wobbuffet, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, he could also even find a Verbank City Gym and go hide for a turn if you wanted to set up a couple more attackers. It is. You don't always want to play the Burbank City Gym when you're playing against a deck like this, especially when you know that the poison damage will stack up on both sides. So we may just see the Reckless Charge again.
Yeah. Now, I just want to take a look at Yoshi's deck list a little bit here, point out some interesting things. His energy line is bizarre. 4 double colorless energy, completely standard, but just 1 blend energy and 1 rainbow energy.
Yeah. And we see both those cards right now, so he is limited to the double colorless energy from this point on.
Yeah, it's like, sure, I'll play a blend energy.
Why not?
I'm curious what the thought process was behind doing a split of 1 rainbow and 1 blend. I would be interested to know that if we get to talk to him.
Yeah. Does the Zebstrika effect work with you if you have like a lightning energy attached? Is that the...
No.
Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure then, honestly.
I mean, I guess the 10 damage from the rainbow energy could hurt you in some matchups, perhaps. I mean, the blend energy gives you access to Zoroark's attack to search for a card out of your deck.
Yeah, you have Ninetales. You can...
Yeah, Hexblade with Ninetales. You can even Psybolt with Mr. Mime.
I mean, both of these let him do all that. I don't know why, but hey, he's the mastermind. I'm going to let him do his thing.
Yeah, of course. All right, so Ross does find an Excelgor, plays Professor Juniper. Also has Musharna in hand. Again, opts not to go for the long-distance Hypnosis. And looks at his top 2, looking to find double colorless energy. We'll see if he gets it off of these 2 cards.
Yeah, I believe we do see 1 at the very far end of his hand. But... yeah, that quick knockout, and I mean, you're already limiting 2 of his 6 energies. How does Yoshi respond?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he would need... The unfortunate part for him is he's burned those 2 energy just to not even get a knockout.
Right.
And Ross is going to use that deck and cover. He's going to have to find Zoroark and double colorless energy to do anything here.
Yeah, this deck's very familiar to like everyone who's been playing Flareon Vespa Queen. You know that that double colorless energy is so important, and basically every time that you attach an energy, you need to be taking a knockout so that you can justify it. And he just paid 2 energies and didn't really get to do much.
Yep. So he finds 2 Puzzle of Time. He could play those here, but it's almost like, what do you get?
Yeah, he didn't get to play too many cool cards yet. He could go for his Blitzel Reckless Charge again if he really wanted.
Oh yeah, Blitzel Muscle Band. Yeah. I'm not sure what his other option would be here. He could just play the 2 Puzzle of Time to grab an N and a Blitzel.
Yeah,
be okay. Even Muscle Band wouldn't be too bad.
Hypnotoxic Laser, if he flipped heads, he could potentially have the Wobbuffet knocked out into his turn. That would be pretty nice as well.
Yeah, it looks like that is what he's going to go for. Hypnotoxic Laser, and he could go for an energy and go for the laser. If he misses the sleep flip, he can go for Paralyzing Gaze with Zorua. Try to trap Wobbuffet.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about a sleep flip then. You're locked in, so.
I love it.
that seems like a play that Yoshi's capable of.
Yes, absolutely. Very non-standard play here. You don't see this kind of stuff happening. Here's the Hypnotoxic Laser. Gets the tails on it.
Which leads me to believe that it's even more likely now that we could see that attack.
Personally, I just want to see it now.
Right.
Oh, baby. Here we go. We're going to get a Paralyzing Gaze on the way. If he flips heads, it'll paralyze Wobbuffet. Ross, he has exactly 1 way to get out of paralysis. That's an AZ, which if he can find that, he could get out of this.
Yeah.
But, might have a big coin flip coming up otherwise.
Right, and with AZ, he almost doesn't even want to do that because he would lose the Floatstone, and that's really the more crucial card in all of this. He can find another Wobbuffet here and there, but when you lose that Floatstone, you lose so much of your ability to switch in and out.
Here we go. Paralyzing Gaze. Does he hit the paralysis flip? And so disappointing. So much work to set up such a cool play, and
sometimes
the odds are not in his favor today.
Yeah.
But hey, props to him for even seeing that kind of an out. Most players wouldn't have even thought about that.
Right. When he's picking out all these cards, usually you're looking at the evolutions. He's looking at the basics too, going, which one's gonna give me spots where maybe I can buy myself a turn. And
Yeah.
that's the rule. It almost gave him a pretty good swing.
Yeah. Now on Ross's turn, it's not guaranteed that he'll even knock out the Zoro. He needs to find another Excelgor, double colorless, deck and cover. He has plenty of supporters in his hand, but no way to find an Excelgor. No way to get double colorless energy either. He does have Musharna, Forewarn. I also see he has a few options for supporters. He has a Colress he can play for 6. He was looking at an N for 5. Decides to go for the Colress. He also had a Getsis, which at this stage in the game, probably not worth using, but Colress for 6 seems like safest play.
Yeah, when you have Musharna, I like to hold on to my ends as much as possible because you know that if you are in a state where you are trading back and forth and you're both low on resources, you know that when you use that end, you have a way to draw back into cards, and you will find that you have an advantage later.
Certainly. So off these 6 cards, Ross will be looking for Excelgor, double colorless energy so he can deck and cover once again. I think he finds at least half of it. See it double colorless, he'll probably be able to get an attack off. And now if he can knock out Zorua, that's actually really big. Yoshi's just left with a Mr. Mime and 2 Vulpix. And Ninetales takes a fire energy to attack. He's used his blend energy and his rainbow energy, even used Puzzle of Time to reuse the blend energy. So he can't use Hex Flame. So even though Wobbuffet only has 10 HP, it could make it through the turn.
Yeah, he would have to find something like a Floatstone and a Shaman with the double colorless energy to find a good way to take a knockout here, along with benching some Pokemon. I don't know what else he could really do, and he wouldn't even get to draw cards with the Shaman. So it's not a spot that he wants to be at. You're so close to knocking out this Wobbuffet, and it just will not fall.
And we do see another Wobbuffet for Ross and another Floatstone in hand. So he could even send out this Wobbuffet that has no damage on it. And it's just going to be a slow process of grinding away if you're Ross. And he almost
there you go. Yeah, don't want to miss the attack.
It's like, that's interesting. He's just going to sit back and promote Wobbuffet. But no, he's going to send out Excelgor, deck and cover. Now, the relevant thing here is that poison actually knocks out the Zorua, not the damage. So if Yoshi has teammates in his hand, he can't play teammates.
Yeah, that's a very important point. And does he? Yeah, he does play one. So that does limit a lot of his potential cards. He needs to find a lot of answers if he wants to stay in this game. You're not going to win with Vulpix right now.
Yeah. So Yoshi just got to come up with a plan here. He's down a Blitzel, down a Zorua. I think Zoroark has to be his main attacker in the matchup.
Right.
Druddigon, useful against other stuff. Not very useful when you get knocked out by poison. Same concept,
Revenge is not working.
Yeah, it doesn't activate. So he's got to find more Zorua, and it just feels like he's been unable to get a big setup here. And he's just struggling.
Yeah, he can't even play a card before he uses that end there. It's unfortunate, but he's going to see 6 fresh cards, and he could find... hopefully he finds some basics so that he can start to set up something in the coming turns. This Mr. Mime might have to take a shot for the team.
Yeah. The bright side for Yoshi, Ross only has the 1 Shelmet on board. We can see situations where if you're using deck and cover every turn, each turn you use it, it becomes more and more difficult to replenish your supplies. You need more Shelmet, Excelgor, double colorless every turn. And when your opponent starts playing N, disrupting you, putting you down to low hand sizes, it's very easy to miss an attack here and there, and that's kind of what Yoshi's going to have to hope for.
Yeah, on Yoshi's side, very important that he finds that Zorua, and for Ross, he might even have to pass a couple turns to set up the Shelmets again, because if you find yourself taking a knockout on something like a Mr. Mime, which isn't very important, and you use one of your Shelmet spots, if you only have 1 Shelmet and Yoshi's able to use a Lysander, he knows that he's not going to be attacked next turn if he knocks out a Shelmet. So Ross might have to slow down a little bit here.
That certainly could be the case. So he does have... I mean, Ross is really under no pressure. That's the good thing for him.
Right.
He's looking at 2 Vulpix and a Zorua.
Yeah.
And again, even if Yoshi gets Ninetales for Bright Look, he can't use it because of Wobbuffet's Bide Barricade. So his benched Pokemon relatively safe unless Yoshi finds his 1 Lysander. And I mentioned earlier, that's got to be his big card in this matchup. Once he finds that, it becomes a little easier. You can, Lysander, if Ross only has 1 Shelmet, you bring out the Shelmet, knock it out. and that'll be your way to get consecutive attacks without being paralyzed.
Yeah. And now we see Ross, he's going to get himself 4 cards. He also gets to use Forewarn. So I don't know if he's going to be able to find anything like the Aselgor. Even then, he also attached for the turn, so he knows that he doesn't want to use deck and cover this turn.
Yeah.
But he's setting himself up, and every time that we have a turn like this, he's seeing more cards than Yoshi is because he has that Forewarn ability. So that's once again another thing that's just in Ross's favor at this point.
Yeah, we see most decks using Shaman EX, Jirachi EX, things that have an explosive effect the one turn you play them, and then they're done.
Yeah.
Musharna is more for a long game, which fits this deck very well. You're going to play a long game pretty much every time, and as things progress, you need just that constant flow of cards every turn. But Ross, he has to pass the turn, gets the Mystery Energy on Wobbuffet, which is essentially the same as a Float Stone. That'll give the Wobbuffet no retreat cost. But, Yoshi, gets a breather for a turn. There's still only one Shelmet on Ross's bench, so if Yoshi were to have, like, Lysander, Zoroark, Double Colorless, he could, stand in, knock out that Shelmet with Mind Jack. And
well, this turn he would actually need he would the Wobbuffet that's just for the basics, so. Yeah.
So we do see Hypnotoxic Laser, though. Start to, maybe pressure the Wobbuffet a little bit. Make it so maybe Ross has to retreat into the other Wobbuffet or something like that. Doesn't hurt to try to put on this pressure here.
Yeah, it's nice to see a coin flip went his way finally.
Yeah. And now you have Computer Search dumping the Teammates and the Silver Bangle. So he did have Teammates in his deck. Whether or not he had it in his hand that turn, we don't know. But, that interaction's going to be very important as the game progresses. I think he realizes that he might not even be able to ever use Teammates because he might not ever get knocked out by straight damage. It'll always be between turns with the poison.
With the way that his hit points work out for most of his Pokemon, he's probably just going to get knocked out by poison a lot of the time.
Yeah. The only one I could think of is if Mew EX used Deck and Cover against Mr. Mime, then it would hit for weakness.
Yeah.
So Computer Search will be able to grab any card from his deck, put it into his hand. I wonder if this is the turn where he finds Lysander. I think it's just important for him that he gets that into the discard pile. That way he can use Versus Seeker and get it back later. That's got to be the one card in this matchup he needs to find as soon as possible.
Right. Knowing where it is more important than using it, especially this turn. It looks like he would need so many cards to actually get something like that off.
They place Professor Sycamore. Has to discard his third Puzzle of Time, so he won't be able to recover cards from his discard pile anymore.
Yeah.
So you need 2 copies of Puzzle of Time.
Using that Puzzle of Time wouldn't have done anything. He would just draw into those cards anyway, so might as well just throw it.
But, he got a Float Stone onto Mr. Mime. That's big. Now he can retreat if he finds Double Colorless Energy and Zoroark. He could Mind Jack, do enough damage with the poison to get a knockout here. And you can see at the clock here, we're already 20 minutes into this game. 2 prizes have been taken for Ross. It's a very slow matchup. Ross actually going to read the Zeb Strike of all right, even I haven't seen this one. Let me take a look.
I watched this played round 1, and I still don't really know what's going on with that card. I know a little bit about how it piles up with against Eviltal, but
yeah,
not here.
But yeah, one thing, we have to keep an eye on the clock. This is not a matchup where someone's going to win quickly, I don't think. I mean, sure, someone could just have a bad hand and get benched out turn 2 or something like that, but there's a good chance that the winner of this first game is the winner of the series just because there won't be enough time to finish it off.
Yeah, so you see both players, they're taking their time, and they really just want to get themselves in the best position this game. There's no reason to rush anything because a lot's on the line for this particular game. You've already invested so much time, and Yoshi here, it looks like he's just going to go ahead and surrender this Vulpix, and he's got 3 Zorua, so he does have the potential to go off in the coming turns.
Definitely. And it's interesting to me that he decides to sacrifice Vulpix rather than, let Mr. Mime get knocked out. Just having that Float Stone could be big. Anytime something gets knocked out, he then has Mr. Mime to promote, and then he can decide what he wants to do after that, since he can always retreat. He values that Float Stone, but it also makes it so Ross could just take another turn He doesn't have to knock out this Vulpix.
Yeah.
And, leaving Mr. Mime active could put on some pressure and be like, hey, this can retreat at any time, and I can just get Zoroark double colorless, so you better watch out.
Yeah, he can stand in still, correct? He would be able to just come in with the double colorless energy and...
Yeah, as long as Wobbuffet's not active, there's Bide Barricade still. But yeah, if he had like Lysander, Zoroark, he could stand in.
Oh, that's right. That flow zone is really important there. So, I can understand for sure why he would just retreat. But again, we saw that if he does want to get this Vulpix out of the active spot, it would cost him a double colors, or he's just going to have to wait until Ross decides, hey, it's my time, I'm going to go in now.
Yeah, it's a pretty deep strategy, actually. You have that spot, but I don't know if you even want to attack Wobbuffet. You want to wait to attack with Zoroark until you can Lysander out a Shelmet or Excelgor. So if you have Lysander, then there's no Wobbuffet, you can stand in. So both players just kind of happy to be patient and sit back, but I think Yoshi is under pressure here to do something first. If Ross just sits back and is allowed to get his field full of Shelmet and Excelgor, he's got the prize lead. So I think he's going to be the one benefiting the most from this stalemate situation.
Right, and if we also back to the point with that Musharna, he's going to see so many cards, and he can just set himself up for an all-out war here.
Now, there was a big coin flip on that Hypnotoxic Laser. The Wobbuffet did stay asleep, so that is one big break for Yoshi so far. Wobbuffet actually stays asleep
Again?
a second time.
Yeah.
So we could see something where Wobbuffet stays asleep a third time and then gets knocked out going back into Yoshi's turn. That could be just the spark he needs to come back.
Yeah, the way that math plays out, it's very helpful for Yoshi.
Yeah, and then staying asleep also prevented Ross from using any deck and cover if he were able to get Excelgor that turn. So Hypnotoxic Laser, always a big factor in these expanded tournaments. Always seems like we get a couple big sleep flips over the course of the tournament.
Yeah, Yoshi's going to go ahead and use Wally, and I believe he's going to be going for one of the Zoroarks. I don't see Ninetales being too good here.
He actually finds the foul play Zoroark.
Yeah.
That's trying to figure out how that's going to work in this matchup.
Is he going to be using deck and cover?
Yeah. It's actually pretty useful. If Ross ever puts down an Excelgor and doesn't attack with it, can actually Lysander it, deck and cover, and then the way the math works.
Yeah, it has 90 HP, so it would actually be pretty good.
It could actually work out. He also does have the stand-in Zoroark now, but looks like no other cards to work with, just has to pass. And I think we have a huge sleep flip right here.
Yeah.
Need to see if that Wobbuffet wakes up, and it does.
He's going to be put to... once again, look at both these Wobbuffets. They've taken so much damage, and they're still not gone. They've been here for multiple turns.
Yeah, Yoshi needs a Trevenant break, just needs to finish this off.
Right? Maybe take one of those Manetrics from the past game.
Get a nice overrun in there. But yeah, right now, it's difficult to know how to navigate through this matchup, probably from both sides. I can't imagine either player has ever played this matchup. If you're Ross, I can say 100% you have
he did not
never played
game.
this matchup. If you're Yoshi, probably 99% you've never played this matchup. When you're looking at the list of decks you're expecting to see our regionals, Wobbuffet, Excelgor, not on that list.
Right.
So I'm sure you just haven't been in this situation. So both players kind of have to come up with a strategy on the spot to figure out, what do I do against this stuff? I'm not used to this situation.
Yeah, a lot of players, we haven't really seen this deck too strong since the fall regionals, and even then it was brought in a little bit by Bob Zhang in the last regionals that we casted, and now we see it here again, and it looks like Yoshi's doing pretty well against her right now, but a lot of this is just instinct. Do you remember how to play against this deck? Because I haven't played against this deck in who knows how long.
Well, it used to be Excelgor with Trevenant, too.
Right.
I think Yoshi would have actually preferred Trevenant. You can at least bright look around Trevenant. Wobbuffet makes this completely different dynamic where you might not be used to playing against that.
Right, and Dark Weakness as well. You can just run right through the trees, so that's pretty good, too.
And I'm just thinking about all the different things Yoshi could have used foul play against this weekend.
Right?
Wonder if he ever copied a Primal Groudon Gaia Volcano. Just hit for a cool 200 for a double.
No big deal.
Oh, and Ross going to find that Lysander, bring out that Zoroark with stand-in. He correctly identifies that this is the one card that could really cause me problems. So it's going to be a huge turn for Yoshi coming up. It's going to be a deck and cover. It'll do 50 plus 30 from the poison. He'll get knocked out going back into Ross's turn. Yoshi needs to find Lysander and then another Zoroark.
Yeah, there's a lot that he needs to find right here, and he did use that computer search to set him up a little bit, but I don't know if he's going to have all the cards to really do this right now.
Yeah, it's a big play on Ross's side there. If you're Yoshi, I doubt, with how many cards he has in his hand, there's no way he could pull something off here. He might just have to accept that his Zoroark's getting knocked out.
Yeah.
He does play one Reversed Valley, so if he finds that stadium card, he could stop the poison from knocking him out going back into Ross's turn at least, but still not a great position to be in.
Yeah, we see Yoshi's going to go ahead and attach a double colorless energy. As I was speaking with the Flareon match, usually you attach when you're going to take a prize card. So he may have something set up. He may just want to play one of these energies, knowing I'm running out of time. I got to get this going.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, that's actually his first double colorless energy this entire match.
That's right. Yeah.
He used the blend twice and the rainbow, but first double colorless, which is pretty strange to see. Usually his deck can be pretty aggressive. I mean, all of his attacks just take one or two energy attachments, and he just has been unable to do anything against this Wobbuffet.
Right. I don't know if he found what he's looking for. He's shuffling through the cards right now, and it looks like he's just going to go ahead and surrender this Zoroark.
Yeah, and this time it looks like he is going to promote the Mr. Mime and just say, you know what, I don't think you're going to be able to get everything you need off of this 4-card N.
Yeah, he's got 4 cards. He's got Forewarn. He needs to find Shelmet, a Selgor, and be reasonably comfortable with his hand before he's going to attack into this Mr. Mime.
Yeah, now he does have another Excelgor in hand. He can play that down. Continue to use deck and cover. But he needs to find another Shelmet. He needs to get those down. Prepare Excelgor for future turns. Does find another Wobbuffet. I believe he has a Floatstone in hand as well.
Yeah. I think the key card here for Ross is going to be if he can find a Lysander and take out that Zorua, that's a dominant position. I mean, foul play is not going to be doing too much if you don't have any good attacks to copy, and he would get rid of his Selgor by using deck and cover.
Ross does have a Getsis in hand. If he wants to use that, maybe try to disrupt Yoshi a little bit. He's going to forewarn first. Take a look, see if he can find Versus Seeker, I think. If he can do that, he'll be great. Oh, but actually find Shelmet.
Yeah, that's a key card.
That's great as well.
And looking now, he's going to go ahead and play that Floatstone, and I have to believe he will attack into this Mr. Mime after this Juniper.
Yeah, and it'll be the same situation. Mr. Mime gets knocked out immediately. Doesn't get knocked out going back into Ross's turn, so it might be time for Yoshi to finally attack with something besides Reckless Charge with Blitzel.
I know that is his strategy coming into this play. He talked about it. Reckless Charge is going to lead me to victory, but no, not. That Blitzel has fallen, and we have to move on now.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I assume Mr. Mime's going to get knocked out, and then my question is, what does Yoshi promote? What does he attack with? You could actually use foul play on a Wobbuffet that's already damaged. You can copy the Psychic Assault.
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to figure out the interaction here, who promotes first, and it's Ross. The knockout won't happen until between turns.
Right.
So yeah, now Ross goes down to just 2 prizes, and Yoshi's just taken so long to mount any sort of offense. Does promote the foul play. Zoroark has double colorless energy. So we could see a very strange foul play for Psychic Assault.
It actually does quite a lot of damage. It does unfortunately mean that for Yoshi that he will not be able to use the Lysander on a Shelmet this turn with the other Zoroark. He does not have those cards to do that. But if he was able to do that, Ross wouldn't have any way to play down on a Selgor in the next turn, and that would be quite the swing, especially when you're looking at a prize count 6-2 like this.
Yep, so we just have Versus Seeker for N. Both players going to shuffle in. Yoshi draws 6 cards. Ross draws 2. One thing I noticed, Yoshi played Level Ball, and it failed.
Wow.
There are no Pokemon with 90 HP or less in his deck.
Sorry, Blitzel.
There was one Ninetales in his hand, but again, not doing much against Wobbuffet. Just can't use the ability.
Right, and last turn we did see that Ross threw down a third Wobbuffet, so that's not going to go away anytime soon.
So Yoshi does find the other stand-in Zoroark. He could evolve here, but opts to just go for the foul play on the Psychic Assault, dealing 110 damage. Take that, Wobbuffet.
That has to feel rewarding after these Wobbuffets have just been sitting here absorbing punches the entire match.
Now, Ross, does he get anything off of his 2 cards plus the 1 for the turn? One of the problems with Excelgor decks is as the game progresses and your opponent plays N, you still have to keep finding another Shelmet, another Excelgor, another Double Colorless Energy. You need to keep doing it every single turn, and if you don't, you're usually just stuck passing, and then your opponent gets to keep attacking for knockouts every turn, and big comebacks can happen.
Right. When I think back to a Selgor, it was also partnered with like Dusknoir, and you could move damage around, and you didn't have to worry about N. But now you just have to take these knockouts, and you're going to be susceptible to that same thing. And it looks like right here, Yoshi understands that he's out of this one, and he's going to scoop them up. And
the Lysander was prized for Yoshi.
That's so unfortunate.
He only plays 1, and it was in his prizes. I think he was trying to just take 1 knockout and see, do I draw Lysander?
Right.
And he didn't. Sees Ross plays the teammate, sees another deck and cover is coming his way, and says, nope, we're done here. Yeah. Let's move on to another game.
Yeah, as soon as you see that you and your opponent and they draw into a card like that, it's just it's demoralizing. And you know he's gonna set up, he's gonna keep doing what he's been doing, and I don't have an answer to that if I can't do a Lysander combo and just get rid of these Shelmets.
Yeah, you gotta wonder now though, was that just too much time wasted? That game. It took probably around 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think they have about 15 minutes for this next game, and that's a lot to ask. I don't see any way that they go to a third game.
Yeah, unless Ross just draws a terrible hand or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to wonder. I mean, that game wasn't even close to finishing. It was still going to take a couple more turns.
Right.
So how long would an actual game playing out to its completion take? I don't know if you have enough time to even get through this.
Yeah, we could see that even in when we go to 75 minutes in top 8, I believe. They could actually just take that entire time if they wanted to, if these two meet up again.
Yeah. So, going to shuffle up for game number 2 with Ross and Yoshi. Ross was on the bubble yesterday. He had a win in his last round, managed to take down his opponent.
Yeah, in quite the fashion.
Yeah. And now he's building up some momentum. If he can get a win here, we could see him get another top 8, add another big finish to his resume.
Yeah, and this is where instincts kick in. He's so comfortable playing in these big tournaments. This is nothing to Ross, and he knows that if he can get through this game, if he can find those 30 points, probably 30 to get himself into top 8, that's his home. And you have to believe that he's one of the front runners at that point.
Certainly. And I'm sure he's got some good matchups out there. There are some decks that just can't deal with Wobbuffet and Excelgor, the constant paralysis.
Unfortunately, I think we were looking at one in Yoshi's deck. I don't know if this was what he was looking to stop, but
I mean, it's all about finding Lysander. You can see the logic in Yoshi's deck list. You're certainly not expecting to play against this kind of a deck,
right?
But when you have that 2/2 Ninetales line to Bright Look, you don't need to play as many Lysander in your deck. So he just plays the 1. Whereas otherwise, he'd probably want to play 2 in this kind of a deck. He has the Target Whistle. A lot of his deck revolves around hunting down Shaman EX for easy prizes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense for him to just play the 1 Lysander. But when it's prized, you're pretty much hopeless in this matchup.
Yeah, and Ross only plays the 1 Shaman, and he also it's really hard to find that 1 Lysander. You can't really search it out. You don't have like the battle compressor engine to go find it for you and throw it into your discard so you always know where it is. And it looks like we're going to go underway into the second game here. Yoshi starting off with a Shaman.
Yeah, not a good starter for Yoshi. Also gave up quite a few mulligans to Ross, so things just not going his way so far. And to make things worse, his hand is almost completely unplayable. Has Ultra Ball, 3 Zoroark,
Wow.
double colorless teammates, and a Float Stone in his hand. At least that's what I can see. So no supporters immediately. He's going to play Ultra Ball. He does have 2 Shaman EX in his deck. Could grab the second one, cross his fingers.
Yeah.
But the other one's not prized.
Hopefully it didn't take the spot of that Lysander in the last game, and he could find this Shaman, because I believe he's going to need that if he can pull anything off this opening turn. He also has the ability to perhaps even just go grab another Pokemon if that Shaman isn't there, and you can Sky Return, and maybe Ross doesn't get a Wobbuffet. You know, there's a chance, but it's unlikely. You probably want to get the most out of this Shaman you can right now.
Absolutely. You need to find Shaman EX. Okay, and I think the other one is in his deck as he's searching through right now. But if you're Yoshi here, I mean, you got to pick up the pace here.
Right.
There's 12 minutes here. You got to take 6 knockouts against Ross's deck. Your decisions have to be snap. You got to just figure out what you're doing immediately. You don't have time to make elaborate plans here. And especially, it's going to be even more difficult against the paralysis, but you got to do it. You just got to move fast.
Yeah, and Ross's deck it's slow and methodical. It takes a little time to set up, so you know that a lot of that clock is going to be dedicated over to Ross's side. So when you are on it, you need to move as fast as possible.
Unfortunately for Yoshi, looks like his cards off that setup will not help him at all. Gets Mr. Mime.
Yeah.
Not helpful in this matchup. Also, Drudigon doesn't help in this matchup either. No supporters.
That Silver Bangle also does nothing either for him.
Yep. Yeah, so just absolutely nothing for him at this point. And he's just going to actually retreat to Mr. Mime and pass. Doesn't want his Shaman to maybe get hit by a yawn or something like that and stay asleep.
Yeah, you don't want that happening.
And I think another big thing, Ross had those mulligans, so we'll start with extra cards in his hand. So Yoshi also wasn't able to play N to disrupt his hand, perhaps. And I got to think, if Ross just gets a bunch of Pokemon down, I don't see Yoshi winning this game in 10 and a half minutes.
Right, I think right now if Ross finds Muna even, like, that might be enough to buy 5 minutes even. Like,
yeah.
If you hit 1 long distance Hypnosis, you've already seen the Floatstone played, and if you can find a Wobbuffet, that Mr. Mime may never actually get to leave the active spot by the time this game is concluded.
Yeah. So we have a level ball for Ross. Just going to make some considerations here, looking through his deck, see if anything is in his prize cards. I'm sure by the end of this he'll find either a Shelmet or a Muna. These are really his only 2 options here.
Yeah.
I don't think he would grab an Excelgor at this point. But yeah, he just needs, and I'm sure Ross is well aware, he just needs to get some Pokemon down. A lot of the time has been used. As long as Yoshi doesn't bench him out or take all 6 prizes, Ross wins the series 1-0, and he gets should be a 3rd straight victory for him in day 2, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's trying to reach that magic number. We believe it's going to be around 29 to 30 points, and he's well on his way there. He'd already be at, if he's 8-2, he'd be at 28, so just one more win.
So we do see Floatstone on Shelmet, Floatstone on Muna, Floatstone on Shelmet.
Wow.
The trifecta of Floatstones. And Professor Juniper to cap it off. He did have Getsus. I think he realized that's not a very useful card here against Yoshi's setup of nothing. So just decides to play the Juniper, guarantee himself some more cards, and go from there.
Yeah, and looking over at Yoshi's side, we can see he just has teammates as his only real way to get into this game. And I think Ross is going to play around any potential knockout through damage at this point.
Sure. And he does find the Wobbuffet, goes for the long distance Hypnosis. That is heads. Now we have that Professor logo die. Most dice, the symbol would be on the 1 spot, but not our Professor die.
Yep.
It's on the 6.
Got to make it a little complicated for you guys here.
But the Wobbuffet is huge for Ross. I assume Yoshi's going to go for just like a Sky Return here. He'll retreat Mr. Mime, Sky Return, but then he couldn't then use setup next turn because of Bide Barricades.
He'd need to find Lysander off the top deck to even draw cards with the Shaman. So Not a great spot for Yoshi.
Silver Bangle going somewhere, maybe. And at this point, Yoshi just might have accepted, I can't win this.
Yeah.
So just taking his time, seeing what silly stuff he can do, but any lengthy decision he makes will end up just hurting him in the end.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best of the choices. He could have another double colorless energy and just keep hounding him with the revenge and say, eventually you're going to have to attack me, and maybe I will get some teammates value. But with the amount of time on the clock, I don't see any way that Yoshi can really take all those prizes, do you?
I can't see it. Maybe Yoshi's got something I don't know about. Maybe he's got like one of those Delta Plus Pokemon that can take 2 prizes at once.
There we go.
But,
yeah, with the Delta traits.
Yeah. We actually saw that at the German National Championship stream earlier in the day. We saw a straight water deck win in the standard format with that Articuno was Delta Plus.
Yeah.
Saw a matchup where a guy took all of his prizes in 4 turns.
That's wild.
Knocking out
wow.
3 Pokemon in a row. So, you never know. Maybe like that Swallow has Delta Plus. I wouldn't put it past Yoshi.
The Natu or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that.
All sorts of tricks you can pull out.
Maybe that's why he's got the blend rainbows. He's trying to sneak in that.
So,
yeah, looking over at Ross, he already found the Musharna. Like, there's so many. As soon as he's able to see this many cards, Yoshi has to know that this game is going to last so long, and I'm sure Ross is ecstatic to see it.
yeah, I think Yoshi at this point, I think he's fully accepted that he's lost. He's a smart guy. He understands what's going on, but he also understands that if he keeps winning and Ross keeps winning, they could play again. They could play again in top 8.
And you're going to want to know what every one of those cards is. So
exactly.
I mean, if Ross wants to give you more information, then you take it. It doesn't hurt you to sit here it's for 6 more minutes and just maybe see something that you didn't see in the first game.
Yeah. Every piece of information you get just helps you later on if you face the same player again. Now, Yoshi finally draws something useful. He gets computer search. But is it just too late? And what does he even take with it?
Yeah, I think he would take Lysander and try to play the other Shaman. He could draw a lot of cards, but what does it really culminate into? He could revenge. Like the attack that he gets at the very end of this turn won't be nearly as impressive as all of the other things that he will be doing, because he's not used to drawing any cards against a Wobbuffet. He's not used to doing any of this stuff, and it looks like he will be able to do it if this Lysander is in the deck.
Yeah, you almost got to wonder if he's going to like put Floatstone on Drudagon, double colorless on Shaman, and Sky Returns, so you can keep retreating Drudagon every turn. He does find Lysander with the computer search, but Ross already has 3 Floatstones on board.
Yeah, you're not going to stick anything against Ross right now.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is also a test for Ross. If he puts down 3 Floatstones, you can see, does my opponent play like Startling Megaphone? Is that something I have to worry about if I play him again?
Yeah, and you see when you play down the Mystery Energy, maybe Enhanced Hammer can fall. There's a lot of cards. You can figure out something on this side as well when you're in the winning position. All
right, so Lysander onto Musharna. We do see the setup from Shaman EX, drawing 5 additional cards for Yoshi. He also has Zorua. He can maybe Paralyzing Gaze, trap the Musharna in the active spot.
Yeah, I think he also drew the Silent Lab, so maybe we could see him stand in at a later date. Who knows?
Huh. All right, so just going to put the double colorless onto Shaman. It almost seems like a wasted Lysander, but it allowed him to set up. And it also gets the Lysander in the discard pile.
Right. Like, he needed to use the Shaman this turn so that he could see some cards if he wanted to have any chance in this game. And, I mean, even if it's just for his pride at this sake. But to see that his deck can start to develop against Ross.
Yeah. So we see the Forewarn for Ross on Musharna. Look at the top 2 cards, pick one. And I'm sure this turn he's probably going to want to start using that deck and cover. What's interesting to me is he has Burbank City Gym in hand. He may not even want to play it. Or he might just want a Lysander.
Yeah.
Zorua is really the only thing that Yoshi can use in this matchup. And if Ross can target it down with Lysander, knock it out with deck and cover, I mean, there's just not a whole lot Yoshi can do. His Ninetales doesn't do a lot. Drudagon certainly doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
Shaman doesn't do enough. Mr. Mime.
He discarded the other foul plays because his hand just didn't work. So
Yeah.
he really just has the standard Zoroark to do anything. And so if you don't have Zorua, you aren't doing anything.
And once again, Poison will knock out Zorua. I think it is 60 HP.
Right.
Can't actually remember. But that's actually pretty relevant. If the Poison knocks it out, then he can't revenge with Drudagon for extra damage.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's a knockout, we'll soon find out what the HP was of that Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 60.
Yeah.
But again, Yoshi just in this spot. What do I do? Doesn't have Zoroark ready to go. If he could find Lysander, Hypnotoxic Laser, Burbank City Gym, he could knock out Shelmet and maybe set Ross back a little bit.
Yeah. We're going to see his best friend, the Blitzel, coming down again. And, yeah, you are fishing for information here. You want to see if you guys meet up again in 75 minutes, slowly try to figure out a game plan here. Don't give away too much information while you're doing it as well, though. And,
Yeah.
I mean, he shows the Hex Maniac here, and I mean, he's going to see if it does anything for him, but maybe Ross didn't know about that. Maybe Ross didn't see that going into a discard pile, or if it even was played last game.
Yeah, that will stop Forewarn from being used, which could end up being relevant. You know, every turn it seems like Ross uses Forewarn and he finds something extremely crucial.
Yeah.
So stopping that Forewarn ability from happening could be crucial. But we just see the Sky Return again. Yoshi just unable to mount any kind of offense. And on Ross's side, you don't really need to do any offense. You just need to not lose the game.
Yeah, just have a couple more Pokemon on your bench, and I think you're all right.
So if he can just find a Pokemon, he'll be fine. We see the timer ticking down, 1 minute in this round. And again, the only way you can win a match. And Yoshi actually stops him from using Forewarn, so some good sportsmanship there.
There we go.
Could have seen an awkward spot if Ross had used Forewarn when he couldn't with Hex Maniac.
Yeah, no need to get the judges in with 30 seconds. You guys kind of know the outcome already.
So yeah, the only way you win Swiss round is if you're up a full game over your opponent. If you win 2 full games, you win the series outright. If time gets called, then you're up 1 game to 0. Then you win. Only complete games count.
Right.
And even if they didn't, Yoshi isn't even winning. So it's just all coming up Ross in this matchup. And, you know, going into it, I felt like Ross probably had an advantage just looking at Yoshi's deck list, the way his deck is constructed. Doesn't have a lot of ways to get through paralysis. Wobbuffet is very disruptive to him. I thought this might be a little bit closer, but Ross has been absolutely dominant. There we see the handshake, and Ross Cawthon wins his 3rd straight round today. Boy, he's on a roll.
Yeah, he's on his way to the top 8 if he can just find one more of these victories. And by the way his deck was playing, I'm sure we'll see him.
Yeah, unfortunate for Yoshi, just running into a bad matchup here. I'm sure of all the decks on today's lineup, that is probably the one he doesn't want to face.
Right, and it's not one that he's really thinking about. No one's going into this going, oh man, let's avoid this as Selgor. You're thinking about the Trevenants and the Yveltals, and it just didn't go his way that time.
Yeah, so unfortunate for Yoshi, but congrats to Ross on picking up the victory. We could see an Excelgor deck sneaking into top 8 again.
Right.
But we're going to take a quick break here. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll have an interview with Ross.